Hello friends, welcome to the current affairs analysis for February 14, 2020. So the Supreme Court has issued a direction to all the political parties that in wake of the rising criminal antecedents and rising criminal cases against the elected representatives, whether they are MPs or MLAs, the political parties need to display the criminal cases that are pending against their politicians on the social media platforms, on newspapers, on news channels, and on the websites of those political parties. So this is a direction which has come from Supreme Court of India, in which there was a report by an NGO called Association for Democratic Reforms, ADR. It said that out of the total MPs in Lok Sabha, 43% of MPs had declared pending criminal cases against them in affidavits. So, the Supreme Court has said that winnability of a candidate cannot be the only factor. The parties have to give reasons for selection of such candidates. So, although the political parties have welcomed this decision that it will bring in more transparency in the political process, but the political parties have criticized on the point that the Supreme Court has asked those parties to list reasons for selection of the candidates, which is a very subjective issue. So from now on, every political party needs to maintain a separate list of those candidates who have criminal cases pending against them, and that list has to be updated on the website of that political party, as well as it has to be advertised in a prominent newspaper, in a prominent news channel, and it has to be a part of the official narrative of that particular political party. So this step is aimed at reducing criminalization in politics and reducing the clout of criminals in politics. So as we just saw 2 days back, the Delhi Assembly election results were announced, and it was found that more than 40% of the candidates who have been elected, and most of them from the party who has attained majority, they have criminal cases pending against them. So we have seen that in every election and across all the political parties, as you can see here. So BJP has 39% candidates who have criminal cases pending against them. Congress has 57%, DMK has 43%, Trinamool has 41%, and JDU has 81%. So these are the these are the MPs in Lok Sabha who have criminal cases pending against them. So this is a worrisome problem, and Supreme Court has rightly taken this step. Almost half of BSNL and 80% employees at MTNL have opted for voluntary retirement scheme. So this is a voluntary retirement scheme offered by the government of India to all the BSNL and MTNL employees, because these organizations, these corporations were running into huge losses. So salaries were considered to be really non-productive. So they were given an option of voluntary retirement, and out of that, almost out of 101,53,000 employees of BSNL, 78,000 have opted for it. So almost half of BSNL employees have opted for VRS, whereas in MTNL, where there were a total of 18,000 employees, 14,400 have opted for it. So 80% of the employees at MTNL have opted for voluntary retirement scheme, and it will reduce the wage bill of BSNL by around 50%. So this is basically a scheme of the government to reduce the financial burden of these public sector undertakings, which are making huge losses. Just as we discussed in the previous video, that among the largest three loss-making public sector undertakings of the government of India, BSNL and MTNL are two. So the biggest chunk of expenditure of these corporations is on the salaries, which is non-productive expenditure. So that's why they were offered voluntary retirement scheme, and most of the employees have taken it. Another important news is from wildlife. So in Meghalaya, which is known as the state of caves, so in Meghalaya there is an expedition which is known by the name of Caving in the Abode of Clouds. So Caving in the Abode of Clouds is an expedition that takes place every year in Meghalaya, because Meghalaya is known for its cave conservation, and there are around 1,500 identified caves in Meghalaya, and many more are unexplored till date. So recently, in one such exploration, a new subterranean fish was found, which was very large in size. It was around 40 centimeters in length. So the average length of subterranean fish that are found in the caves of Meghalaya is 8.5 centimeter, whereas the fish that has been recently sighted is 40 centimeters in length. So that has shown us that this could be the largest subterranean fish in the world. So this is very significant. And the fish was first seen in 1998, some explorers are saying. However, there is no documentary evidence to verify that. So this caving expedition was started in the year 1992, and it is known as caving in the abode of the clouds. So it has in the past identified various species. For example, it has verified two species of bats, Murina giantiana and Murina pluvialis, and a spider species called Heteropoda fission, and a fish species called Shitura papulifera. So these are the species that have been found in the caves of Meghalaya under this expedition, and it shows the richness of biodiversity in this part of the country. And the Meghalayan caves, which have not been given much significance as far as wildlife diversity is concerned, have now caught the attention of the entire conservation world, because possibly the largest subterranean fish has been found here. United States of America has announced a 7-day partial truce or ceasefire with Afghanistani Taliban. So Taliban is a militant group in Afghanistan, and USA has been trying to secure a peace deal with Taliban for the last many years. So now a 7-day ceasefire has been signed between United States of America and Taliban, and in these 7 days talks will be held to seek a negotiated settlement in Afghanistan. The Pentagon Chief Mark Esper has said that a negotiated settlement will try to be found in these 7 days, when there will not be any hostilities, when there will not be any attacks from either of the sides. So this will be a significant development as far as finding peace in this part of the world in Central Asia is concerned. So USA has been trying to negotiate a deal with Taliban for many years now, and Taliban has been occupying large swaths of area in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is very significant from security point of view. In economy, the Standard and Poor's, which is a rating firm, it has retained India's rating at triple B minus, which means that fiscal position of India remains precarious. What it means is triple B minus is the lowest investment grade rating in the world. That means Indian economy is still not recovered from the cyclical slowdown that it has been in. But at the same time, if it is the lowest investment grade rating, but the outlook is stable, so it means that although the rating is lowest, but the agency expects Indian economy to be stable in the wake of the fiscal policy measures of the government, in the wake of the monetary policy settlements, and in the wake of the green shoots that are coming up in the economy. For example, government of India has reduced the corporate tax rate. Government of India has infused a lot of money in the national infrastructure pipeline, and the markets have started to pick up. But at the same time, the GDP growth of India in real time has been brought down to 4.5%. So this is the real GDP growth expected for this financial year. But in the next 4 years, that is from 2020 to 2024, the average GDP growth rate of India is expected to be somewhere around 7.1%. This is what the agency has said. So that means that agency expects India to be on a significant growth path in the next 4 years. But for now, the rating has been kept at triple B minus, which shows that right now the Indian economy is in deep waters. So if GDP growth is below forecast, it may lead to reassessment. If this figure goes further down in another forecast, then even this rating can come under strain. This is what the rating agency S&P has said. In a positive news for economy, the foreign portfolio investors have turned net buyers and they have put in $6.3 billion in the December quarter alone. That means the FPIs, which are the retail investors in India, these are those investors who invest for a short term and they do not own any shares. They do not become owners in any company. They are just investing in portfolios and they are investing in a retail market. So what it means is that whenever there is a speculation in the economy, FPIs are those who withdraw their money very quickly. So they do not invest in assets, they just invest in retail and they are here to seek short term profits. So, such foreign portfolio investors in the December quarter, that is from October to December 2019, have pumped in $6.3 billion into the Indian markets. So, this is a significant development. So why the FPIs have started pumping more money into the Indian system? That shows that the scenario or the sentiment towards Indian economy has improved. Why it has improved? First is rollback of the super rich surcharge. So this is what the government has done. Then second is merger and recapitalization of public sector banks. Then increased liquidity support for housing finance companies and NBFCs. Basically, these are the steps which were taken by the government of India, which have improved the investor sentiment after there were a lot of slowdown. Another step taken by the government is relief measures for revival of automobile sector, then bailout packages for stalled projects in the real estate sector, and rationalization of corporate tax rates, just like I told you. So all these steps that have been taken by the government have have helped improve the sentiment of investors in the Indian market, and that's why they have pumped in this much money in just a single quarter. However, the foreign investors started the December quarter on a subdued note. So in October, the sentiment was not very good, but later on they gained momentum. So what were the reasons that there was a subdued start? Because they were risk averse, they didn't want to take risks, there were fears of a global recession, the trade wars like between USA and China, they were gaining momentum, and bodies like IMF, Asian Development Bank, and Moody's were cutting India's growth forecasts. So in such a scenario, the investors were not ready to pump in more money into the Indian markets. However, later on, when the government took all these steps, the investors were back in their business. The investors regained their trust in the Indian government and they have started pumping in more money. So this is a positive news as far as economy is concerned. Thank you everyone. This has been the news analysis for February 14, 2020.